Hello, hello, what is going on, guys? Phoenix61 here, another World of Warships Legends video. So there's only, like 4 or 5 days left or so for whatever this is, Planet Clash, Cosmic Clash, whatever clash this is, right? And I think I only did, I did a video day one just showing off, like, on easy difficulty, like, just what it is, right? Because it had just come out, right? If you're at work or whatever, you wouldn't be able to, see it or sign it. So this is what you were dealing with, right? So now we've played up through, all the, like, medium and hard difficulties, and we're on the Cosmic Terror difficulty. So right off the bat here, you notice I'm taking some shots at the All Destroyer, right? So, so this is Cosmic level 7 that I'm at, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep trying this or not, because there's just it's such a time investment for, like, not that much rewards. I mean, if you're really hell-bent on getting the ship for free, you might need to play through some of these, but yeah, I just wasn't too excited. So what I did here was I moved forward, and I'm the destroyer, right? I moved forward enough so that I knew I could get torpedo hits on the All Destroyer, the boss, right away, off in the distance there. So we moved within 9 kilometers of him, and then I just kept dumping torps at anybody and everybody, right? So if you look at the All Destroyer, it's already got a chunk of its shield missing. And so, like, the purpose of getting at least a few shots on him was to trigger some flooding, right? So to trigger some damage over time, because, like, you really, really do rely on that. So my strategy right off the bat is, move up so you're close enough to hit him, then wait, don't use, like, your smoke or your, whatever, the EMP thing, don't use any of that stuff until someone actually starts shooting at you, right? So until you start actually taking hits. Like, don't preemptively use it, because you want to get as much out of it as you can. So what I do is I move in, I'm shooting everybody, right? I'm not just taking shots just at the All Destroyer, but I was shooting everybody. And then I use the smoke when I start taking hits, and then I actually use the EMP when the like next wave, like the last wave of enemies spawns, during this beginning part. So there's like a couple of destroyers on each side, That's when I use EMP to try and, like, slow, well, not just the destroyers, but literally everybody down, right? So, but getting a couple of torp hits on the All Destroyer to get that flood started, is kind of important as well. Just my opinion, right? So the problem with this game mode becomes about time, right? So if you're not progressing, you need to be less than 5 minutes, preferably 4 minutes. You see how much time we have, right? So we're at 11 minutes 41 seconds. So it took us a little over 3.5 minutes or whatever to get that first chunk, the first wave done, right? So that's kind of like where you want to be, right? You need to be, if you're going past 5 minutes, you're probably 5 minutes per wave, you're probably not going to make it all the way. But another part of this too is there's a mission out there just for getting like 5 million damage or something, right? And then on this one, if it goes, to the north side, this is a little risky, but I like to go way towards the outside, and I actually didn't mean to use my EMP there. I was kind of mad at myself, but I try to space them out, right? I wanted to use smoke to kind of get up and around these guys, because again, my goal here is to try and get some early shots on the All Destroyer, right? To get some status, to get the flooding triggered, right? So ideally, I'd still have my EMP to kind of help me out, because I know I'm going to get spotted by a destroyer that's right here. So that's really close to us the second that we, so we're getting picked up by him, and we're going to grant that battleship too. We're too close to both of them. But, so like ideally I was like, okay, I'd have the EMP still if I were to get in a little bit of trouble, but we don't really get into trouble here. But once you've done this enough times, you kind of know where everybody spawns. So I knew that this cruiser was going to spawn here, and this would probably be a pretty good opportunity to use the EMP, right? So I use it to just kind of slow them down, right? It's going to disable them, gives them all those incapacitations, right? So then you can kind of get away, reposition, you know, get your health back when you need to, like that kind of thing, right? So that's kind of how I use that, and I try to space the consumables out as best you can so that you have at least something to fall back on, right? Whether you've got the shield heal or the shield recharge, the EMP, or the smoke screen, right? These laser beams coming down from space, I actually don't even try to dodge them anymore. They really, at most, they get rid of like half of your shield, and when you do try to dodge them, it slows you down a ton, right? So that's part of the other strategy, is to just keep moving. I've been constantly trying to get closer and closer to the All Destroyer without dying. Has basically been my whole goal here, right? So we've got EMP ready. We're about to have smoke screen ready. I'm trying to press in to where I can at least get in range, right, of the stupid All Destroyer, so that we can start loading some torpedoes on him to at least trigger some floods, right? But this, of course, this destroyer here is going to be the pain in the butt. And then we're just now getting within. I got to turn in a little bit more here because we're 9 kilometer, right? Yeah. And I did pick the, I think I forgot to go through the commander, how I have it built out. I mean, honestly, do what you want to do, but the, you know, for like shield recharge isn't that big of a deal because you have the shield recharge consumable, right? So you can sacrifice commander stuff there, and then I think I picked like the faster torpedo reload, which I think is probably the most important one, so keep an eye out for that, right? So see how we get picked up by all this stuff. So that's when I'm using my EMP, right? So like otherwise all these ships would have shot at me all right at once, right? So we're able to get rid of that destroyer. We'll be able to get some shots off on this cruiser, right? And then we already hit the All Destroyer, so I'm hoping that he's flooding. You know, we at least hit him a couple times. We still got some torpedoes on the way over there. I was kind of mad that I didn't get more torpedoes on this galaxy here, but, you know, it is what it is, whatever. And then, yeah, now I'm out of range, but, you know, survival is also key, right? Is also an important part here. So I'm going to just keep moving, and this is something I tried not to do, but I ended up going around the outside of this island because both of these cruisers were chasing me down, right? So I go towards the outside, which, you know, is sacrificing some time, right? Ideally, I can, you know, I could stay like right around here in this position, and then and still get those shots on the boss, right? In hindsight, too, the other thing, like you know, in this, you know, with what happened here, I'm still moving towards, you know, where the boss ends up, right, on the other side of the map. So it wasn't all bad, right? So I think it ended up being just fine, but that's normally not, it's not my normal strategy. Just like these cruisers, right, like we just happened to survive. Luckily they weren't doing too much damage to me, so I was able to just, as long as I kept moving. But yeah, so, and then notice our speed too, we're almost up to 60 knots here. Just from going straight, right? So that's why I don't waste time trying to dodge the like space lasers, you know, like because it ends up slowing you down. So I turned a little bit and now I'm back down to 40 knots, right? So like that's kind of why I just kind of go through them. And half the time when you're moving that fast, their aim is off on the on the lasers from space, whatever you want to call them. So, like, they end up not, you know, hitting you anyway. Like, you're going too fast for them half the time. But, like I said, even if they do hit you, you end up it ends up, like, damaging, like, maybe half your shield, right? So, like, just use your shield recharge if you really need to, if you get into trouble there. And then I'm going to keep moving. You know, he always teleports when he's at about half health. So I kind of figured I've got enough torpedoes on the way already, right? So that he's going to... you know, end up teleporting, right? So we were right about that. We actually overdid it, right? And then I got lucky here. We had some good teammates with us, or at least one, right? So you notice there's a destroyer that just kept moving, right? So he put his maybe probably too much faith in me, right? to finish off that second wave. And then here I'm just checking to make sure we've got a decent amount of kills, right? So on these Cosmic Terror levels, you at least have to get, what is it, like 15 or 16? You need a certain amount of kills. I don't know if that goes up as you progress through more, right? But you don't have to complete all these other objectives to like earn stars like you do in the lower levels, right? So I am just going to fire at whatever is along the way because I'm also trying to go for those damage numbers because there's that mission to get 5 million damage each week. And then I'm going to keep moving towards the boss, right? So part of this is just time. keep moving, right? So if my allied destroyer wasn't at the boss now, you notice we are right at about 5 minutes now. If he wasn't at the boss, we probably would have lost this because he has, ideally started shooting torpedoes and causing damage over time on the boss, right? So we owe a lot of thanks to him. I am just going to keep moving in that direction, try and alternate, try and mix up my consumables and just get there so that I can help send torpedoes at him. I think really you kind of need mostly destroyers in this game mode at these levels. I haven't had success playing, especially not the cruiser, right? Like, they're fun, but like, you just need, like, the torpedoes are just the ones that are doing the raw damage, especially to the boss. The battleships are nice because they can use their EMP rounds, and those are pretty good at taking down shields. But, like, still, I think you need probably 3 destroyers at least, or maybe, maybe 2 at least. You might be able to, if you had 2 smart people that were destroyers, you might be able to pull this off, right? And then, yeah, come around the outside to where the boss is on this last section, right? You kind of learn there's one more spawn that happens coming up here, and that's usually the one that really, like, kind of screws you, right? But you notice, like, you try and get to a position where you're not spotted, use your EMP, use your smoke screen. I think what it is here is, like, I just tried to suck it up because I knew this destroyer was coming at me, and I was like, he's gonna die from one of these, some of these torpedoes that I'm sending, right? But this the all destroyer just freaking wrecks us so bad here. So we use the shield recharge, right? And it still just, like, takes us out in one. I think I just had too much faith in it, right? So I'm like, all right, we need to move, right? And, ideally I'd have, like, smoke screen or something ready, and we just get a little bit lucky with the shields coming back, but now the destroyer is shooting at us too, right? So I died, but we sent a fair amount of torps at him. So I was kind of like, you know what? We might finish him off, right? So we have, we owe this game, at least the rest of it, to the other destroyer. And you can see where he is too, right? So you can keep moving. The problem is, I like the position that I was in because you can get all of the torps hitting the boss, right? So you see, like, he's kind of angled to where the boss is, like in how the boss is angled and pointing towards the middle of the map. So not all of his torpedoes are hitting, right? So it's not as effective, but it's a better position as far as survival, right? So there's this balance, and if you can get rid of those, I think it's like a destroyer and maybe a cruiser that typically spawns, like, right around there, just inside that island. If you can get rid of them, then you're kind of, home free, and you just sit here and dump torps, right? So this, I think this destroyer, the enemy destroyer here, spots him, so you can see the, our friendly moving away a little bit, and it's, like, totally fair, right? He's got plenty of torpedoes, probably, I'm guessing that's going to be enough to finish the boss, right? And then he takes out that destroyer, but he was firing his guns, right? So he was probably still spotted, so he kept moving back around behind the island, and I'm like, I don't know if that's enough, dude. But the flooding is what's really, really, really important. So that's why it's kind of important for each stage to get to it as quick as possible and get at least a couple of torpedo shots off at it, so that you can start triggering those floods and doing that damage over time, right? So we were successful there. I will take a peek at the leaderboard because I like to compare my performance against everybody else all the time, right? But as you can see here, so now we are up to Cosmic Terror level 8. So there is your proof that it is tier 7 that we just completed, right? I got razzed for only having a video on easy, right? So, and then we do make the top spot with 345 XP and those 4 kills, right? So I think it's probably damage based. I'm not sure what's, giving you XP. I don't really know. But yeah, it is what it is. Like I said, like, I feel like, especially sometimes matchmaking takes a while with this game mode at these higher tiers, because I think you need to have 4 people wanting to play that tier at that time, right? So, like, I'm not sure if it's worth the time investment. You do need the special currency to buy There's the destroyer ship, the tier 6 ship. So you need enough of that. So you may need to play some Cosmic Terror, get some of those higher tiers to get, because I think we got 250 of the currency there. But honestly, like, it's not huge, like, if I don't make enough to get the destroyer, I'm cool with buying one or two of the Geises and I'll be fine, right? Like, it's just like, I'd rather play standard than play this like 6 times and only win once, like, that's just a huge time suck, right? So thank you guys for watching. There's my strategy for how to beat the higher difficulty levels. We'll see you next time.